Shall I begin?
Go ahead.
Okay. Hello and warm welcome to everyone to this webinar series. My name is Palak Birla and I will be the host for this session, supported by my colleague Srinikitha. This week we have two reasons to celebrate. One, of course, Earth Day is approaching on 22nd of April. And second, we are delighted to announce the launch of 5-element Sustainable Development Goal. 5-element Sustainable Development Goal is a think tank, a consultancy, and a collaborative network of institutional and individual partners committed to the UN Sustainable Development Goal. Under the mentorship of Mr. Arun Amirthan, we are on a mission to foster collaboration, consummate synergies, and to achieve impact at the nexus of smart cities and smart villages, renewable energies, essential technologies for development enabled by finance and consultancy. Before we begin, a few rules for the session. As usual, all participants are requested to keep their microphones muted and encouraged to type their comments and question in the below chat box. We will be taking up the question during the Q&A session after the speaker's presentation. This talk is also being recorded for our 5-element YouTube channel. So let's quickly begin with the second session of our webinar series, that is Lessons in Rural Electrification for South Asia and for Africa. For this, we are joined by Mr. Krishna Revankar. Mr. Revankar was the formerly CEO of MV Solar and now founder and managing director at Balark Solar, an independent solar consultancy. Mr. Revankar has an experience of more than 35 years in solar PV power business across the value chain, including development, management, design, engineering, and manufacturing of solar PV cells, power systems, and projects in public sector, private sector, as well as multinational companies. As a qualified trainer, Mr. Revankar has trained more than 500 entrepreneurs, more than 1,000 designers, installers, and maintenance engineers in solar PV business. We look forward to learn more about rural electrification and the role of solar energy for development of South Asia and Africa region. Mr. Revankar, it is a pleasure to have you among us today. The stage is all yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Arun and team, for this opportunity. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. I think from all over the world we may be joining, so I have no one statement to be made. It is good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. I'm in this field for a very long time, and then when Arun asked me to be the guest lecturer for this session, so I was happy to do that. But incidentally, the time what was provided to me was very short. I know that difficulty was there with Arun, so and as a friend, I have to accept his request, and we are here today. Yeah. Okay, so we are starting lessons in rural electrification for South Asia and Africa. All of you are able to hear properly?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. So, when I prepared this presentation, the topic what was given, so I thought, okay, to start with how exactly renewable is standing as of now. And I have taken all these slides from Global Status Report 2020. That is the latest one that is available. And the first slide goes like this. So you can see that the growth of renewable energy over the years has been increasing, and you can see that solar PV has been growing at much faster rate than any other renewable energy. And if you can see that out of this 200 gigawatt, what has been added in the year 2019, close to about 115 gigawatt has come from photovoltaics itself. So it can be from various applications. It can be large scale power plants. It can be land-based installation. It can be rooftop installations. It can be water pumping system, or it can be in rural areas for home lighting, street lighting, or the lanterns, or water pumping. Any application like this can cumulatively, they have added about 200 gigawatt in the year 2019, out of which more than 50% has been contributed from solar photovoltaics. Yeah. Solar PV and wind power are spreading around the world. Actually, if you can see for last 10 years, from 2009 to 2019, the growth has been very good. And if you see, initially, Europe, the contribution was more, America contribution was more, but then as you see, Africa, Eurasia, Middle East, and Asia is contributing very well in enhancing the capacity. And you can see this growth is spreading worldwide, and it's good news for solar photovoltaics as well as wind power. Now, solar PV capacity alone, if you see, the cumulative installation as of 2019 year end has been 627 gigawatt, and the year 2019 itself, 115 gigawatt has been added to this capacity. And if you see the energy consumption that is coming from solar itself, then it is somewhere around 3%, 2.8% to 3%.
Hello?
I will go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay. So if you see the actual global electricity, almost 27.3% has been contributed from renewable energy itself. And if you break up that further, that 15.9% has been contributed from hydropower and about 5.9% from wind power. But solar has contributed close to about 2.8% of the entire global energy requirement in the year 2019. Yeah. So this number, if you see for last so many years, every year there is an increase that is happening, and the contribution from renewable is year by year it is increasing, and correspondingly wind power and solar power contribution is also continuously increasing. Yeah, actually, if you compare worldwide the access to energy against access to clean cooking, if you see, the growth in access to energy is much faster or much higher as compared to the clean cooking. You know, if you see that, you can see as developing, emerging Asian countries, the contribution has been much faster. You can see in India also that almost about 95% access to energy is there, and you can see those countries where, but as compared to that, the clean cooking access or the contribution has been not as good as access to electricity. Okay, so the global sales of off-grid solar systems see a very strong growth. You can see that it has been growing, and this 35 million units of systems have been cumulatively installed as of now, and different categories of systems are there, but the number is increasing, and you can see that in the year 2019 itself, you have almost about 1.5 million systems have been added of different capacity worldwide, and that is a big number, which is and that growth has been around 13% over the previous year, and that growth has been faster and it is growing very strongly. So market for off-grid, if you see, many countries, specifically it has been given, Kenya, it has been increasing over the previous year 2018-19 comparison has been done. About 55% growth is there, whereas in India, you can see in Kenya that is increasing, Ethiopia it is increasing, Uganda, Nigeria, but if you see incidentally, in India, the off-grid solar system market has been declining, and it has been about minus 31%, whereas others are, in Kenya, it's about 55% increase is there. Ethiopia, it is 108% increase is there. Uganda, it's about 9%. Nigeria is about 5%. Okay, so specific reason for reduction in the market for off-grid for India, maybe because of more and more electrification of homes, remote homes, rural homes are happening, because the government of India target to electrify 100% villages has been strongly going on, and off-grid market, maybe because of that, there is a reduction that may be happening. Okay, so, but if you look at renewable energy based mini grids, gain really momentum, and we can see in Africa, the growth has been almost 28 times as of as compared to 2014 to 2018. In about 4 years' time, the growth has been about almost about 28 times, whereas in Asia it is a small growth, and worldwide you can see almost about 6 times to 7 times growth is there. Close to about 355 megawatt of world total mini grid systems have been installed, and they have been supplying electricity to very remote rural villages. So if you see the distributed renewable energy key solution to provide energy access, top 6 countries with highest electricity access rate from off-grid solar solution has been, Nepal has been standing number 1 with about 11%, Mongolia is about 8%, Bangladesh about 8%, Rwanda is about 6%, Fiji 5%, and Uganda is 3%. These are the 6 countries which have highest electricity access rate from off-grid solar solution. Okay, which is a very good news, all of us to see. Now, when it comes to India, I am just putting this this slide only to show that a lot of things are happening in India, and the growth has been, except for last year, the growth has been very good. I think this year it will recover faster, because we have a very big target to be achieved. And if you see, the last report of MNRE, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, the cumulative installation of renewable energy is touching 94.45 gigawatt as of 31st March 2021. And of that, if you see, solar itself is 40.09 gigawatt, and wind has been around 39.24 gigawatt. Biopower is about 10.3, and small hydro is about 4.79. So this is what is the big number, what India has achieved. And if you see, as of 31st March 2021, there is almost about 50 gigawatt of renewable capacity at various stages of implementation, and close to about 25.91 gigawatt in different stages of bidding. So cumulatively, if you see that we will be close to 175 gigawatt in next 1-2 years time. So which is a very good number, what has been targeted to be achieved by 2022. Okay, so just with this background, so I would like to take up this further slides. So South Asia, it says that, okay, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bhutan, these 8 countries, and then Africa as an entire continent. So mostly all these countries, the rural electrification is generally through home lighting, or it can be water pumping, or it can be lanterns, street lights, or rural mini grid. All these applications are possible, and all these applications implementation is generally either through the government schemes or the subsidy schemes or World Bank schemes, and the success of these schemes depend completely on the following: the product quality. When we talked about product quality, entire system quality, which consists of solar photovoltaic modules, and because it is a off-grid system, then battery will come, the charge controller will come, the appliances like lights can be there, fan can be there, or any other application which can run on solar can be there. Okay, so the success of the scheme also depends on how well, what is the product warranty, how well the components have been designed, and what type of extended warranty that is provided for the balance of systems as well as a complete system itself. So it is very critical that we have to have a longer warranty period, because always we say that, okay, renewable energy, solar photovoltaic, solar is a long life system, and it will perform for a longer duration of the life, and only when it is having extended life, the system becomes financially viable, and then it is feasible for remote applications. So product warranty and system warranty is very critical. That is required to be as long as possible. Then the product maintenance, earlier, whenever we have been, because I'm in this field for last 30-35 years, always we used to tell, as a system, we used to say that, okay, the system does not require any maintenance. So that has completely changed now to that system requires some minimum maintenance, and that minimum maintenance has to be done on a regular basis to ensure that the system works without any hassle and generates good amount of electricity, and then it can meet the customer's requirement properly. Okay, so regular maintenance is required, but minimum maintenance is required, and it is also not maintenance can be done by the customer himself if he has been trained to do that, or the technicians who are located locally, because it is important that a system on the belief or the trust on the system will come in the people only when it is been working seamlessly without any difficulty, and whenever there is some difficulty, some breakdown is there, if there is a local support is available for attending to the complaints. So if that is provided, then success is guaranteed. Okay, so product training is required. The user has to be clearly trained to how to use, what is the limitations of the system, what has been supplied, what type of loads he can load it, how much he can load it, what all these limitations have to be clearly informed to him, because he should not think that, okay, I have a photovoltaic system, I have a renewable energy systems, I can use it unlimited way. It cannot be like that, because it is a limited generation source, and then it has got a limited storage source, and it has to be used properly, and then usage of the system has to be clearly informed to the user, and he has to be trained on usage as well as maintenance. Okay, so lessons, if you see the lessons that has been learned, completeness of the supplies to suit the requirement, because every site, every customer's requirement, every location requirement, it may not be same. So as per the site requirement, as per customer's requirement, if the system has been supplied, which is meeting his requirement, then the usage is going to be more, the ownership of the system is going to be better, and the system will perform better, because somebody is there to take care of the system, and then it will perform for a longer years of life. Initially, whenever we were supplying the systems, always we used to have difficulties whether the electronics have been designed properly, whether it can work in the remote place, in the site where it is getting installed, whether it will perform better. The reliability of the entire system is very, very critical, because all these systems are being installed in very, very remote places. Reaching to the site is more difficult. So unless the system reliably performs, and we ensure that all the products and the BOS systems, what is supplied with the system, has to be reliable. Improvement in reliability of the system has to be always tried, and then it has to be supplied. Now, next one is that extended warranty of the product and system. Usually, we used to give a warranty of 12 months from the date of supply, but then always there can be a difficulty just after the warranty period. If something has failed, then the user is completely burdened, because of the warranty is no more valid at this time. So our experience has been that always we have been kept on talking to the balance of system suppliers, be it a battery supplier, be it a electronic supplier, be it a light supplier. Always we have tried and explained to them, the manufacturers, that the system what is being supplied is a very well designed system. It will have a limited usage, limited hours of usage, and the warranty can be extended. Especially in case of battery, initially we used to get a 1 year warranty for the batteries. We have been trying and explaining to the battery suppliers how exactly the photovoltaic system is working, what type of protections that has been provided electronically in the system, to see that it is not completely drained, or it will not be drained more than what has been designed for. So all these things, when it has been explained to the manufacturers, they have come forward, and then the warranties have been extended. And And we are seeing that the battery warranty has been extended from 1 year to 5 years, and in some cases it is up to 10 years. Similarly, the electronics, the warranties are there for 5 years now. Some suppliers are giving a warranty of 10 years to the system, and a complete system. Now we can enhance the warranty period from present or earlier 1 year to maybe 5 years or something like that. And a lot of changes that have happened because the system supplier has not been allowed to go away from what he has supplied. Specifically in the supply terms, very clearly, he has been made responsible for the extended warranty for a longer maintenance, things like that, which has come in last few years, and the systems have been performing very well actually. So the next point is the user training. From my earlier experience of rural electrifying countries, what we have seen is that the moment we train the user on exactly how the system works, what all the limitations of the system, how much usage he has to have, and he cannot just like that, because we have provided adequate protection, control and display system in the entire photovoltaic system to see that, okay, if he uses more, it can be recorded. If he uses unnecessarily, then the drainage of the system can be very clearly monitored. And when we explained the entire thing to the customer, the user, we have seen that there is a drastic change in his perception of usage of the system. And we have experienced that more than 10-15 years, systems have been working very well, and then customers are happy with that. Yeah. So the moment he knows that how it has to be used, and he knows that all that the money what has been spent by him is providing required support for him, as well as the electricity required for him. So the ownership of the system is taken by the user more and more happily, and he will ensure that his system performs, his system operation is properly done, his system's maintenance is properly done, so that on his requirement it will meet all his requirement. Okay, so when you go to the next point, after sales service support, because initial hiccups will be there whenever the systems have been installed. May not be in all the systems, but few systems. But whenever that initial hiccups are there, initial problems that is faced, after sales service support, if it is quickly available, so customer also will be happy, and then we as a supplier can be in direct contact with the user, and his understanding with the system and any clarification that is required can be properly made and then quickly done. And it is important that whatever the system that is supplied to the remote villages, as I said in the first point, it has to suit the requirement. Now, my experience in South Africa is that in 2001, in this period itself, there were home lighting systems that have been supplied to very, very remote rural homes. And it was like a prepaid system, like presently whatever we have a mobile which has to be prepaid, the charging has to be done, and then once the paid money is finished, then unless you recharge, it will not be working. So similar system was being supplied from our earlier company. And what I could see is that it is too early to introduce that type of system to the rural villages, because they were not able to understand or take it for that. So incidentally, that scheme collapsed, and then we could not continue that system for a long time. I think I have this last slide. Now, whatever the schemes that are getting implemented in rural area or for the rural electrification, a lot of agencies have been specifically identified to see that the implementation of the schemes are becoming successful, and then these implementing agencies have been given a lot of responsibilities, and they are the watchdogs for implementing these projects. So what we are seeing is that oversee the entire installation of the system, whether the system has been installed properly or not, whether it has been done to the timeline, what has been provided, is the quantity have been done properly or not, whether all that target, whatever has been set, has been in line with or not. That is one responsibility. Then inspect and submit the completion report. So third-party inspection can be there for the installation of the system. So here new implementing agency would have come, but then in our earlier companies, we have ensured that whenever a technician goes and install the systems, we have ensured that there is an audit of the system installed will be done to see that whether exactly a senior technician who has been experienced in this will go and audit the system and then see whether everything has been done properly or not. This is one is to ensure that the installation is properly done. Second one is to evaluate the technician, how well he can do, and then what type of responsibility, further responsibility given, to be given. So the next point can be the submit utilization certificate. Okay, whenever there is a subsidy scheme, whenever then some central government finance subsidy is going to be there, so probably this type of report may be required. Then submission of progress report if the large volume of installations are happening in remote places, on a regular basis, on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. Submission of progress report will clearly show that, okay, whether the targets are getting achieved or whether it is possible to do or there is any lagging of that progress. So all these things can be clearly understood without literally visiting the sites actually. Maintenance of records, like when we make the supplier responsible for the maintenance of the system for, let's say, 5 years, and whether that is being properly maintained, whether the record is there, regular visits are there. So all those things can ensure that the system generally made to perform, and then the customer will be happy, the progress will be good, and the scheme will become successful. So there is nowadays it is possible that real-time monitoring of all the systems that has been installed in remote places can be monitored remotely, and AMC, annual maintenance contract compliance, can be seen, and then it can work further. Yeah. So any of these type of systems what is getting implemented. So if there can be a publicity that is done where any other activity for successful implementation of this progress can be taken from. So these are all the points that can be we can discuss. I think that is the last slide from my side, and we can.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Mr. Krishna, for taking out your time on a weekday and presenting us such a brief and very lucid presentation that has given us a good understanding about the market in renewable sector, and also the learnings and challenges that are in the sector for rural electrification. Thank you so much. And thank you very much, Arun, for being so passionate in rural electrification and sustainable development, and also bringing us great mentors and guides like Mr. Krishna to the team, and introducing him to the wider network of 5 elements SDG. So now let us begin the Q&A session. So whoever has any questions, please type it in the chat box, or else you can also unmute yourself and ask your question. So I can ask a question to begin with.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm thinking about in COVID context, as most of the solar panel production has happened in China, how COVID situation has put challenges for the solar industry in India and elsewhere?
Yeah, actually, if you see the requirement of solar modules in India, if I talk about India, is very huge. A lot of projects. I have shown you the slide where close to about 49 gigawatt of projects are in different stages of installation. Of that, maybe about 30-35 gigawatt is solar. But then we do not have so much of manufacturing capacity in India. So it is becoming difficult unless we enhance our manufacturing capacity. And government has been bringing out a lot of policies to encourage people come forward, companies, organizations to come forward and set up manufacturing facility. But then it is not going to happen overnight. Definitely it will take time, but then it will happen.
Thank you. Arun, please ask your question.
Thank you, Nikita. Krishna, I have to start by thanking you very, very heartily for stepping in at the last minute. We were supposed to have a Nobel laureate with us, Mr. Deepal Barua from Bangladesh, who was unable to join us because of his illness. We know what the situation is. It was not easy to find somebody to step into the shoes of a Nobel laureate, but we did find one. And thank you, Krishna, for being there, and thanks for your generosity. You have been in rural electrification since the very early stages of this story. In the 1990s, I think in Indonesia and in Africa. Now, what are the significant changes in the rural electrification scenario compared to 3 decades ago and what we have now? We know what the prices are, what the prices were, and what the prices are. So, of course, the economics has favored the transition to renewable energy. What are the other major changes that you have seen over the last 3 decades?
Yeah, actually, definitely the cost of the system have reduced, But then earlier it used to be always either government sponsored programs, and from our earlier organizations, what we could see is that the installation sites were very, very remote. Many a times I have seen that I would have gone up to one city and then walked for about 20 kilometers through the forest, and then maybe there was no road to reach by vehicle, and then go to the site where the installations will happen. Maybe it is a small home lighting systems, maybe it is a street lighting or the lantern or water pumping system. But one thing what have kept me in solar photovoltaic business is that with all the difficulties, you go to the remotest place in the country, or whether it is in India or in Sri Lanka or Philippines or in South Africa or any other countries, where I used to see the smiling face of the customer when I have finished the job and then coming back to my my tent. Okay, so that is the one thing which has kept me always to work in this field, because with whatever difficulties, we would have gone to the site, very remote place, and then you provide light for them, and you provide some water pumping system where for drinking water purpose, things like that. So you have solved their problem initially. So they are very happy with that system, and I could all my difficulties of reaching there or matching to that requirement would have, everything would have erased, and I am happy with that smile. Okay, that is one thing. Second thing is, what we have seen is that reliability of the product has drastically changed. Okay, now we used to supply the systems, and then maybe we would not have trained the customers properly, and there is no because we went with a concept, okay, there is no maintenance required for the systems, but then it is not correct. Actually, definitely some maintenance is required, the module cleaning is required, the battery has to be topped up, all those things. But then the one important thing that has changed is that from then to now, that if you have used reliable components to design a system, and a well-designed system has been supplied to the customer, I have experience of somebody telling me that, or myself, whatever we have installed in 2000 or so has been working for last 20-25 years. Really an off-grid system working for such a long time. Maybe in 10 years time he would have changed the battery, but then as a system, photovoltaic modules with other electronics have been working very well. So reliability of the products, the balance of systems have been increased. Definitely the recent ones are more reliable as compared to the earlier ones. The technology of solar module manufacturing has really improved, and they can perform as they have committed. Yeah, they can do that. Yes. Sorry, Arun, did I answer?
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you. The reliability point is very important.
Yeah. So we have an anonymous question here. As with financing on the demand side, how much of the component is loans and subsidies? What policy interventions do you suggest to ramp up the demand in the sector?
Okay, so this question, I will take up one case, that is the water pumping system. We have recently Kusum scheme in India, which has been being implemented. And first time I'm seeing that a government has so elaborately worked on this scheme to see that it is going to be successful. Okay, so there is a clear guideline which has been provided, and the central government has clearly said that okay, the subsidy portion is going to be 30%. And the state governments have to contribute either same or more than that. So it has to be either 30% or more than that. Some states are giving 40%, some states are giving 50%. So thereby the contribution from the end user going to be either 40% of the system cost, or it can be 30%, or it can be 10%, depending on how much has been contributed from state side.
Okay. There is another question from Shivanshi. Having acquired so much of experience in the sector, where do you find a deficit in trust building between the consumers and suppliers, especially in low-income communities?
See, actually, if you supply a system which continue to work for long years, definitely customer believe in the system, customer has got trust in the system, but then there are many possibilities that some of the suppliers maybe based on the project cost, he would have been reverse engineering, he would have done to see that, okay, based on what he gets, he is going to supply. So if such is going to be the approach, then the systems will not work, and then it's a bad name for renewable energy.
Okay. So there is question from Abhishek. Abhishek, if you want to ask your question, it would be, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Long back, what I saw is a particular person. They were having an old, say, battery torch. I think it's a portable, say, torch. In the sense, which was made up of RE. Later, what happened is, after a particular period of time, we were not able to use it because I don't know what was the problem with the particular torch. So they had no one to service it. They didn't know where to go, whom to approach, and all of a sudden they have to either throw it away or keep it somewhere else or give to someone else. So it was there separately in a particular corner, and at last went to garbage because no other choice. So such a scenario. So these are problems which has been is happening here in India. So as you rightly said, if the product is good, each and every component is good, it will be going to last long. So what are the systems we can do for correction of the system? So ultimately, tell me, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, you have taken a case of a torch. I would like to take the case of a lantern, which is something similar only. So what used to happen is that we always see that whenever we use this lantern or a torch, we use it and leave it in a place where it has not been kept for recharging. Okay, the solar module may be there on the rooftop, and then after the usage, you have to keep it for charging so that you are utilizing the whole day's charge stored in the battery. So incidentally, what used to happen is that people forget to charge. People use it and then leave it somewhere, and only when it is next time required, they will start searching. So that used to be the case, and then batteries would have completely drained off, and then it would have reached a stage where recharging is not possible. But then I explained to you that local service support, that is essential, and the after sale service support is very much required for the systems to perform and then people to get trust on the system.
That's what again I asked a question. Nowadays, what has happened was this was an old incident. Nowadays, what is happening is people have started making frugal things. Most of the things, whichever things products which are available right now, but not that much. Say just like what you said, not really old ones. Many people, what they do is they get a new one, which is very easy available. Can just use it, and you can. It's costly, which is not that costly, and it will be very easy to use. So just like use it and just throw it away, just like the Chinese model. So once we will be getting such a things, everything is in the market right now. So what does that is one particular system. Why can we Indians here or anyone in the market out there, why can we come up with new frugal methodologies in which we can have such small products or any kind of product for the matter? This frugal engineering can come up and it can be of great help for the entire society.
If I may answer that,
please.
Frugal innovation is all very good, but I think Krishna made that very clear. And my personal experience is also that we lack last mile connectivity, last mile support, last mile servicing. So if we forget the reliability factor in the process of frugal engineering, we are not serving the purpose we started off to serve. So reliability becomes very important, and we need to ensure that we have reliable products for remote areas when we consider frugal innovation. Deepal Barua isn't here. He calls many of the products out there plastic junk. And in India, we have 5 million lanterns sold every year. And the total number of operating lanterns is 900,000. So each year we add 5 million products, but the net products in service is under 1 million. This is the problem. We need to think of reliability and long-term service.
Fine, okay. That is the reason why we are going for a sustainable system. That what you said is true, sir.
Absolutely. It has to be a sustainable system. And the sustainable system means there is a local governance. It starts with the people. It starts with governance. And then we need to select the technology, the right technology. We need to have training. We need to have support. We need to have measurement and evaluation. So all these things are there. It is not a matter of selling a product.
Yeah, in that case, we need to have people in the local areas also. For example, say if it's there in say in Telangana, in a small place, say in a rural area, in that place, even that place, people should be there to do the servicing of the particular system. If a chip breaks away, or small kind of any kind of a product, say let's a bulb goes away, or some kind of small mistake, some say small service to be done. So people should be in a position to get trained there. So the training part is always important. So again, their training comes in. So who will be the person come there? Who will be the person to train them? So training part also to be incorporated, right, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. The question we need to ask ourselves is, why has India failed the rural poor, where Bangladesh, Nepal, Kenya, and today we heard about Ethiopia and other places, Mongolia. So it has functioned in many, many other parts of the world. But rural electrification in terms of solar products and even solar home systems, microgrids are more reliable. But we need to ask ourselves why it is not functioning in India. That's a question to ask ourselves. Krishna?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, actually, I gave you an example of my earlier association with the company, where we used to have, we used to tell that, okay, within 24 hours, we never used to give 24 hours time, but then we said that, okay, if somebody has reported there is a problem in the system, same day or maybe next day morning, we used to be there and attend to the complaint, and then we used to come back. And this was completely monitored, this was completely rehearsed, it was completely audited to see that the systems perform well, because we have seen that, okay, the more and more people are happy with the system, more reference will be there, more systems can be sold, things like that. So my experience with Shell Solar, when I was in Shell Solar, so we used to do like this, and the systems have been performing very well for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, like that. We used to
Great,
train,
sir.
we used to, yeah.
So we have 3 minutes left. With your permission, we can extend for 10 more minutes, as we have a couple of questions from the audience. So from Kaushik, the question is, why always anchor load or user like cellular tower, ATM, banks, etc. were looked for microgrid? Standalone visibility is why not possible in several sites? If the question is not clear, can you please unmute yourself?
Can you just repeat?
Kaushik, Mr. Kaushik, can you please repeat your question?
Hello, good evening, Mr. Krishna.
Yeah, good evening.
Mr. Krishna, the question is, what is my experience with microgrid in Uttar Pradesh in India? Whatever the microgrid, I have visited around 30-40 microgrid, but most of the people, when I discussed with them, they are asking that they require a anchor load. Without anchor load, say they are putting up, say 10, 15, 20 or 5, 10 kilowatt peak solar system with the batteries as well as DG. But most of the, I have not seen any of the microgrid is in a operational efficiency, 100% load is there without an anchor load. So this is a problem I have faced in certain, because I had been working with them for the battery part. So this is my observation or my learning with the microgrid in India. So I don't know about how the microgrids in other countries are working and what extra they have added into their offering. So it becomes a operational profit making venture for them.
Yeah, first thing is that in other countries, that microgrid, it is not free. It is not a free electricity supply. Okay, so definitely all the parties involved in the microgrid operation usage are concerned. They are conscious about what they use, how much they use, and then how much they have to pay for that. So that is one consciousness is there among all the people who are involved. Second thing is that the microgrid have been designed appropriately to meet the required load. So that study has been clearly done, that what is the load requirement, what is the total households that are going to be powered, what type of loads will be there, how the distribution of the load is going to be during the daytime, evening, night. All these things have been clearly studied, and then if it is done, I think there will not be any problem with the microgrid operation.
Okay.
I think there is also a loading issue. If you have a base load, then you have the return on investment. The issue is not so much a technological issue, it's an economic modeling issue. And it is easy to piggyback. If you have a base load, which is a telecom tower or whatever else, you have a commercial base which is going to supply 80-90% of your return on investment. And that's the issue. So are you able to guarantee the return on investment to the investors? And that's the make or break when it comes to rural electrification. And let's not forget that. So the economic modeling is very important. The collection rates are extremely important. How we connect with the local communities? And do we have the trust? Are we working with local NGOs, or is it a purely commercial model? And this is very important. Unless it is done for social impact, these things will not work. And that's where we again need to ask ourselves, why does it work in other parts of the world? One issue is also the subsidy for kerosene and the subsidy for other things in India, which has made solar less viable. In Kenya, because there is no subsidy for fuel, and fuel prices are higher in the interior because of transportation costs, relatively solar becomes far more viable. So we need to look at it in the context.
Yeah. So there is another question from Sai Suraj Gade. How to make a subscription model on renewable source of energy in remote parts where no proper grid system is available and where many people even couldn't afford it. Like a solar mini grid can be installed, stored in batteries, then supplied to 20 to 25 very poor households, then charged over time for very small amount. Will this be possible, sir?
Yeah, actually, lot of this type of systems are working in Sundarbans area and all, where the electricity supply is directly through this system. When you said that, okay, they cannot afford, then somebody has to intervene. Some NGO or some corporate which has a which can contribute in the construction of this and the maintenance of this type of system, and it can provide the electricity that is required. I think it is possible.
Okay, thank you so much. There is a question as like hand raised by Vikas Locus. Please go forward and ask your question, Vikas.
Yeah, good evening, and thanks, Mr. Krishna. I think I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Balaji, you are.
Okay, so my name is Balaji, and Mr. Krishna, the question is, I have 2-3 questions. The first one is that it's more from a financial angle. If the solar as an energy, which needs to be seen as, since irradiation levels are better in India compared to anywhere in the world. However, the distribution companies are already sitting with a debt of almost like 300,000 crores, which is I don't know how many $1 billion. How do you think that this is going to help in terms of the financial health of these companies which are coming up with a non-conventional investment on the solar? And what is your thought on that?
Yeah. See, actually, whenever I attend some conferences where this type of discussion comes, see, if you see one of the slides what we have shown with almost about 677 gigawatt of installations cumulative, the energy that can be for the entire world's energy requirement, it meets only 2.8% of the energy requirement of the world. Okay, so even if we install, say, 100 gigawatt of solar power plants in India, it cannot meet even more than 8% of the entire country's energy requirement. So if that is the case, how the distribution companies will be at loss when you have solar photovoltaic? It is definitely helping them to, because the electricity requirement demand is increasing at least 8 to 10% per year. So which means the responsibility of distribution companies to enhance their capacity of generation. So by having solar added to the existing network, they have been protected from not investing on the capacity enhancement, and that is a support that is being given by the renewable energy or photovoltaics. But then, because of the cost of the systems have been drastically coming down. The electricity generation cost from solar is so low, and if they pass on that the benefit to the real user, then it will be nice. So 8% of the energy requirement of the entire country is from solar photovoltaic when we reach the target of 100 gigawatt. So it's a very small portion of the entire country's requirements. So I do not think that it will have an effect on their present burden, and then anything it can be done with that. I don't know. You think that?
I have a different opinion, and as well, because end of the day, everything has to have its own financial standing.
Yeah.
If this is a typically a B2B organization company, business of solar, and if the consumer or the customer, in this case, the distribution companies, is already sitting with a negative cash flow. Won't it be a challenge for those companies to come up and do an investment, and then probably, this will be an impediment in terms of, say what has been set as a vision for India, especially when it comes to renewable energy.
Murali, you are in Bangalore, Krishna is in Bangalore, my base is Bangalore. I think the three of us need to have a focused discussion on this matter. With your financial wizardry, Krishna's grasp of the technology, we can probably discuss this further and take it forward. It might be too specialized for the rest of the audience. I suggest we take it offline. Yeah, let's take it offline.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Just one more to Mr. Krishna, and since he is largely focusing on technical stuff, now maybe I'm a little bit outdated when it comes to the irradiation levels and as well as the efficiency, which is basically seen as 15.7 to maybe 16.5 today in terms of the photovoltaic cells. Now, as per your understanding, what is the technology roadmap which one has to see or adopt in terms of enhancing this 15-16% of efficiency to move to say 32%? So your effective price reduction is not about 3.2, 3.3 rupees per unit. It will come to 1.65 to 2, and it will make even more viable. So is there any thoughts in terms of what is the technology adoption and as well as a roadmap when it comes to this photovoltaic cells?
Yeah, actually, if you see the solar cells or the solar module, last year or 1 year or 2 years back, if you would have seen that most of the people were focusing on polycrystalline module, and worldwide there is a change that is happening. And if you see China itself, more than 80% of the installations are with mono-PERC modules, because presently, monocrystalline. There is a PERC technology which has been, we have an efficiency of solar modules close to about 19.5, 20% now, because polycrystalline has reached upper limit, and then further improvements is not possible. So that's why the technology is changing to mono, and if you see the photovoltaics development, initially all these things were started with monocrystalline module, but then some of the features of monocrystalline was not matching with the countries like India, where the temperature was high and then the temperature coefficient of power was very high. So we used to have more losses due to if you use the solar monocrystalline module. But then now with PERC technology, mono has been performing much better than polycrystalline, and the entire world is moving towards mono PERC. And if you see today, India, maybe around 60% of the installations are happening with mono PERC as compared to poly. And worldwide, it may be around 70-80% is moving towards mono PERC.
I believe this questionnaire can go on for another 2 hours. If you have any questions, please mail us and we'll take your questions to Mr. Krishna, and we will ensure your questions are answered. And thank you so much, Mr. Krishna, for answering all the questions with so much patience and so briefly answering all the questions. Thank you, Mr. Arun, for pitching in for all the questions that you can answer for rural electrification and the development. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for being such a sport in answering in being inquisitive and curious about rural electrification. Please, we'll take it forward on emails. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.